Tour du Mont Blanc is an iconic long-distance hike in the Alps that crosses over 3 countries, France, Italy and Switzerland. It's 164 kilometers long and typically you can do it in 9 to 12 days. In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know to plan your own version of it. So, Tour du Mont Blanc. I feel like it doesn't even need an introduction, or I don't need to list reasons why you need to do it because it's such an iconic hike. You know you need to do it at some point. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you everything you need to know about this hike. So the route looks like this. It's a loop and it goes through France, Italy and Switzerland. And Mont Blanc, the peak, is more or less here. So the hike basically goes around the whole Mont Blanc massif. And the numbers for this hike are 164 kilometers. The elevation gain is almost 10,200, and since it's a loop, so the elevation loss is the same. And typically people do this in 9 to 12 days. And since it's a loop, you can do the hike either way round. However, most people do it counter-clockwise, so that would be the classic way of doing it. And most people, they also start the hike from Chamonix because this town is really accessible and it's a really cute town as well. So it's a perfect base to kind of start the hike, get ready there, and then you go to Les Houches, where the actual trail starts. But since it's a loop, you could start the hike from anywhere. The other main towns along the route would be Courmayeur in Italy, and then Chambex-Lac in Switzerland. So if you are traveling with your own car, you have the freedom to kind of start anywhere. But if you need to fly in, the best and easiest place to start the hike would be in Chamonix. To get to Chamonix, the easiest way would be to fly to Geneva, which is in Switzerland. However, from the airport, you can catch a shuttle bus that goes directly to Chamonix. It's about an hour and a half, so it's very easy and accessible. And then you can spend the night in Chamonix to get ready. And then there is a train or a bus that you can take to Les Houches to find the trailhead. So with the public transport, it's very easy to access to this hike. But also if you are traveling with your own car and you need to park it somewhere, here in Les Houches, you have a few options. So there is the Bellevue cable car station and there's a parking lot right next to it. This is actually where we parked our car last time and it was all fine. So at least at the time it was free parking lot. So that worked super well for us. Or also there is another parking lot. So here, parking TMB. So it's next to the other cable car, this one. When it comes to the accommodations, you can stay in mountain huts, hotels or campsites. And here on this guide, as you can see, these are all the accommodation options available along the route. And there is an official website to book the mountain huts along the route. It looks like this, and they have their own little booking system. So this one works pretty well. The problem is that since it's a very popular hike, these huts, they get booked very fast. However, on this website, they don't have all the huts. So currently, I think they have listed 43 huts, but that's not all of them. On this guide, we have listed over 60 accommodation options. And if you want to book the other huts that are not on the official website, we have links to their website where you can make the reservation. And also, if you are struggling to book the huts, I have made another video about some tips, like how you can kind of play around with the dates or what tricks you can do to help you to like align the dates and the reservations. So I'll leave the link down in the description so you can check it out. And if you want to do camping, I have good news because you can do this whole hike just by camping. Like here on the map, these are all the locations where you are allowed to put your tent. There are a lot of official campsites where you have all the good facilities, you have hot showers and all of that. And then there are some wild camping areas. They are regulated, like this regulated vivac areas, and you do need to get a permit. So when it comes to wild camping, technically you're not allowed to do it because you cannot just pitch your tent anywhere you want. There are very specific areas where you can pitch the tent, and they are regulated, and you need a permit. And which way should you do the hike? Clockwise or counterclockwise? So most of the people, they do it counterclockwise. So that would be the classic way of doing it. Now, I've done this hike twice. My first time, I did it the classic way, and it was hut to hut. And the second time, I did it clockwise with camping gear. So I've done it both ways, and I would say there is just like there's two major things that you should know about. So the first and the most important thing I would say is that if you do the hike clockwise, you can avoid the crowds. And by this, I mean, you don't need to hike in a queue. Of course, you will cross a lot of people that are coming from the other direction, but you don't need to hike in a queue. So you don't have a lot of people behind you or right in front of you. And then the second difference, I would say, is on the first day. So let's say if you do the hike counterclockwise, so the classic way, your first day would be going south. So if you start from Les Houches, you go south to this way. And I would say this part here, it's like an easy introduction to the hike, because you are mostly hiking, or like the hike starts going up through some ski slopes. It's very easy. You're on this like gravel road, so it's easy. And then you go through little villages here as well. So you're not like in the high mountains, like isolated high mountains yet. That comes on the second day. So that's why I would say it's like an easy introduction on the first day. But if you do the hike clockwise and you start from Les Houches, the first day would be quite tough. You would have to climb over 2,200 meters on the first day. And that is quite a lot. And also, I would say like this part here, it's like probably the biggest highlight on the whole hike. So if you do the classic way, you would kind of save the best for last. If you do want to do the hike clockwise, but you're a bit scared that the first day is too tough, you can make it easier. So from Chamonix, you could take a cable car all the way to this peak, Le Brevent. So it's two cable cars. The first one here from Chamonix goes to Plambratz, and there the second cable car goes to Le Brevent. So, and that's how you can cut basically the whole climb away. You do sacrifice a lot of views during this part, but if you need to make the hike a bit easier on the first day, you do have the cable car option there. If I would do this hike again, I would 100% do it clockwise, just because I can avoid the crowds. If you're still planning your hike, you're in luck, because we have just launched our Tour du Mont Blanc guide. The guide includes descriptions and details of each stage, and you also get to download the GPX tracks, and you can download pins for essential locations. For example, for the mountain passes, mountain huts, or water sources, all the essential information that you need during the hike. It's all a digital download, and it's available now on our website, so go ahead and check it out. And when it comes to food and water, I would say water is pretty accessible. In the towns and the valleys, you can find a lot of water fountains, and then you can also refill at the huts. And there are a lot of natural water sources like flowing rivers where you can collect water if you have like a filter bottle. So water was very accessible. However, you always need to refill before you start climbing, because on the mountain passes you wouldn't find any water source. So just remember to refill before a big climb. And food is also easy to find. Like on the huts, you can always get some snacks or like some like pies and tarts. But also if you need to restock for some snacks, you can find a few supermarkets. So there is a supermarket in Les Contamines. There is a mini market, it's more like a kiosk in Les Chapieaux. And then another supermarket in Gourmayer in Italy. And then in this valley, in La Folie as well, there's a proper supermarket, and in Champex-Lac as well. And then down here in Argentière, they have a supermarket as well. That place is not directly on the route, but if you are spending the night close by, it's like 1 kilometer walk down there. So I'm gonna go through the highlights along this route so you know where the best parts are. And also there are a few tricky sections. So in case you want to avoid those parts, I'll show you how you can do it. So first I'll start with the best mountain passes. Starting with Col du Bonhomme, which is here in France. And the next one is Col de la Seine, which is with the border with France and Italy. So that one as well, it's a beautiful mountain pass. And then Gran Col Ferret, another pass where you actually cross another border. So you go from Italy to Switzerland. And this mountain pass is also the highest point along the whole route. So it's really beautiful views on both sides. The last one is not exactly a mountain pass, it's a peak, but it's the Le Brevent. And this one is actually the second highest part along the route. But this one, since it's like a peak, you get like super good views of Mont Blanc and the valley, like the Chamonix down in the valley. But just like 360 views of the whole area. And another highlight for me would be the valleys, especially the Italian valleys. So you have this one here, the Val Veni. Simply just beautiful. I don't know, there's nothing else to say. So I just love a proper valley, and especially then when you hike, it's like a balcony trail. So you go up the valley and then you hike on the side of it, like you're kind of contouring the valley on the higher level. And then, you know, the views are just beautiful. On the other side, you see glaciers. And then the other valley is here, the Val Ferret. And again, you just go here on the higher level. So it's like a balcony trail. And yeah, the views are just simply beautiful. Really, really love these two. Other highlight would be the towns in each country. So in Italy, you have Courmayeur. This one is a beautiful one. If you have a chance, it's even better to have like a little rest day there, so you can really check out the town. And then in Switzerland, you have the Champex-Lac, which is a little village. You have some hotels, restaurants, and a supermarket there. So in a way, it's like a town. And then you have this really big lake there. And then for me, I would say that the whole highlight of the whole hike would be the last day. So that's when you are here up on this mountain where you have the Le Brevent is here. But this one is it's just so beautiful. Like, and also from this side, you would see the best views of Mont Blanc. And if you go up to the lakes here, the Lac Blanc, you have these really beautiful mountain lakes. I did this part in just one day and it was really long. It was like over 25 kilometers long. So it's better if you can split this into two, because then you don't need to rush it. You can take nice breaks and really enjoy all the views along the way. As a last highlight, I would say are the ladders. And they are here, they're on the last stage. And for some people, this can be very scary because the ladders, they are just vertical ones. They can be really long. It's like a set of several ladders. It's actually almost, it's like this part here. So it's almost like the length of like 400 meters where you have, ladders along the way. Now, if you do want to skip them, it's possible, it's easy, but you need to make the decision early on. So before you start climbing here from this valley, you need to know if you do want to do the ladders or not, because there is an alternative route and it's this one here. So here it is connecting to the main route, but it just climbs here on the side of it. And next I want to show you some route modifications that you can do. For example, you could use some public transport to skip some parts or speed things up. And normally I wouldn't recommend to skip any parts of this hike, but it might help you if you're struggling to book the huts. Like if you manage to book a hut, but it's quite far away. So it might help you if you use a bus at some point, or if you take a cable car up or down. So in that case, it might help you. So the first option is right in the beginning. So if you want to skip the whole first climb, You could take a cable car from Les Houches to here. It's called the Bellevue cable car. And if you take the cable car, you can save 4.8 kilometers and 670 meters of elevation gain. And another option is here in this valley. So from Les Chapieaux, you could take a little shuttle bus to this one or to the Refugio Mottets. The shuttle bus doesn't go that often all the way to the hut. It goes there like just a few times a day. But to this place, it goes more often. And if you take the bus all the way here, you save 5 kilometers and 300 meters of elevation gain. And if you take the bus all the way to the hut, you save 6.4 kilometers and 400 meters of elevation gain. And here, right before Courmayeur, you could take a cable car down. So from this mountain hut, you can first take a chairlift down here, and then here you change to the cable car that goes down to Dolon. So this is going downhill, so you could save your knees. And if you do take it, you can save 5.4 kilometers and 800 meters of elevation loss. And the last one would be here in La Folie. You can take a bus all the way to Champex-Lac. So you could basically skip a whole stage. If you do that, you can save 14.3 kilometers and 530 meters of elevation gain. So it's basically a whole stage. And I also want to point out just a few variants that might be interesting to you. These variants are not meant to, they're not going to make the hike any easier. They are a bit harder than the original route, but they also provide nicer views. So these are variants that can make the hike even more spectacular. And the first variant is actually right here on the first stage. And since the first stage is kind of easy, like you go through a lot of these little villages here, but if you want to take more isolated high mountain routes, there is one right over here. So the trail goes like this, and the elevation profile is kind of more like this. So you do need to climb a bit more. But also there are 2 mountain huts here where you could sleep. And another variant would be here. When you leave Champex-Lac, the original route kind of goes around this mountain here, and then it goes down to Trient. However, there is a really cool variant that goes over this mountain pass here. So when you leave from Champex-Lac, you go down into this valley and then you climb to the mountain pass here. Here it's a bit tricky. It's a little bit of bouldering there. It's nothing too technical, but if the weather is bad, then it's not a good idea to take this because it is very exposed. The whole ascent from this side and then the descent on this side, it's a very exposed area, whereas the original route that goes here, it's more in the woods. And what I really love about this hike is that it is very diverse. So you are going through 3 different countries, and each of them, they are different. For example, in France, well, France, they do have the best views of Mont Blanc, let's say that. So when you have the big valley, when you go to Le Brevent and you're there on the high mountains, you have the Lac Blanc, the lakes up there. That is simply stunning. And then in Italy, you have the valleys, all the glacier views. So again, very stunning in a different way. And then Switzerland, I would say Switzerland, it's not as spectacular views as you would see in France and Italy, but that's the beauty of it. Like, it brings something different. In Switzerland, you have the trail goes a lot in the woods. At least for me, I really enjoy when the route is very diverse. So you have the beautiful mountain views, but also when you go into the forest, it's like lush green forest with the smells. Even though Switzerland, the views are not like that spectacular, but you go through really beautiful forests and the little towns. So on the Swiss side, I really enjoyed going through the villages where you can see these really old chalets, these like Swiss Alpine chalets. So that was also very cute to see that. So you see the cultural side as well. So when you mix all of those together, these 3 countries, it's just a really beautiful journey. It's a really beautiful trek. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Tour du Mont Blanc hike. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments and don't forget to subscribe.